Since I entered the mansion, Xie Heng's devotion to me has been known throughout the realm. He also took a young concubine, rumored to have shared a deep bond in their youth. Yet she was neglected the moment she entered the household. Xie Heng never visited her, showering his affection solely upon me. As he plotted to seize the crown prince's position, his hidden enemies could not harm him. Instead, countless assassination attempts targeted the woman he cherished most. Poisoned at a banquet. I suffered a painful miscarriage. Attacked in a carriage. I fell and shattered both legs. In the final battle for succession, both the concubine and I were kidnapped by his mortal enemy. When forced to choose between us, he selected me without hesitation. His enemy then plunged a blade into my flesh, declaring he would make him lose his most beloved woman. I languished on my sickbed, while he ascended the throne, yet crowned that concubine as empress. Draped in imperial robes, he laid his cards on the table. I never loved you. All these years of favoring you were merely because I knew my elder brother and others would use my most cherished woman to threaten me. I needed a living target. He took the concubine's hand to prevent her from becoming that target. I pretended to favor you. My neglect of her was to protect her. My favor toward you was also to protect her. The concubine smiled and added, "Thank you, elder sister, for your years of protection. It allowed me to live in luxury, spared from your constant plight of poisoning, betrayal, and death. I died in bitter resentment. When my eyes opened again, I had returned to the day of the banquet where I poisoned the wine. Without hesitation, I swapped the cup of poison meant to cut off his line of descendants into Xie Heng's hand. The poisoned wine in the cup reflected my youthful face. I knew then I had been reborn back to this banquet 3 years prior. Lifting my gaze, I saw Prince Ning Xie Heng conversing and laughing with several ministers. He radiated confidence, as if everything lay within his grasp. Not long ago, he had seized upon the Qi prince's misdeeds, prompting these ministers to impeach the Qi prince for his scandalous affair with a courtesan. This led to the Qi prince being reprimanded by the emperor, and the Qi princess consort, overcome with shock and anger, suffered a miscarriage. Having crushed a formidable rival, Xie Heng was in high spirits, hosting this banquet at his residence to reward the silver-tongued literati in his camp. Unbeknownst to him, Prince Qi had resolved to exact revenge. Spies had infiltrated the kitchen and laced the wine with poison. This poisoned cup was intended for me, the princess consort of Ning. In my past life, after drinking this poison, I suffered 3 days of agonizing abdominal pain. My 4-month-old child dissolved into a pool of thick blood. The imperial physician later diagnosed that I could never conceive again like ordinary women. Xie Heng had killed the child in the Qi prince's consort's womb. Now the Qi prince would retaliate in kind, making Xie Heng's most cherished woman pay the price. Indeed, everyone in the capital knew I, Song Jivan, was Xie Heng's most beloved woman. On the night of our grand wedding, he ordered every household in the imperial city to hang red lanterns at their gates, lit until dawn. That night, the entire city was ablaze with celebration. Every citizen knew this was Prince Ning's unique devotion to his consort. After marriage, whenever there was a formal occasion, he would bring me, his lawful wife, to attend. In public, he would intertwine his fingers with mine without hesitation, their affection unmatched. Whenever he attended court, he invariably wore the jade pendant or sachets I had gifted him. Even when facing the princes vying for the throne, he would frequently mention me, his consort, boasting of my gentle virtue and how I was the love of his life. His displays were so conspicuous that even a dog kicked on the palace streets would utter its first cry. Prince Ning Xie Heng loves his Ning princess consort most. Xie Heng's love for me knew no bounds. And naturally, his hidden enemies knew that I was his Achilles heel. Since Prince Ning cherished me as his life, killing me would deal a crushing blow to him. Thus, in my past life, poisoned wine, carriage plunges, and rebel assassinations all targeted me. By the time Xie Heng finally ascended to crown prince, I was already crippled and ravaged by illness. My body, poisoned beyond repair, was a flickering candle, its days numbered. I knew my time was short, yet I felt no regret. My only thought was, thankfully, none of those poisoned drinks harmed Xie Heng. Until that moment, I truly believed Xie Heng cherished me sincerely, and I naturally returned his affection with my own. Knowing his ascension was imminent, I thought even if I could only be empress for a few days, at least I could benefit my maternal family. Yet on the day he took the throne, he bestowed the empress title upon that obscure concubine from his household. That concubine was Zhang Yingxue, daughter of Zhang, the vice minister of rights. When Zhang Yingxue's father was convicted of embezzlement, she nearly faced enslavement. Xie Heng rescued her, explaining to me that it was merely out of pity for their childhood acquaintance, a fleeting, insignificant connection from their youth, that he could not bear to see her suffer. Thus, he took her into his household as a concubine. See? Even when taking a concubine, he would explain it to me with such gentle words. After she entered the household, Xie Heng scarcely ever visited her. Even on their wedding night, he merely went through the motions with her before returning to my chambers. He played the role of neglect so convincingly that when Xie Heng later walked hand in hand with Zhang Yingxue before me, their fingers intertwined, I thought my own illness had blurred my vision. Beside them stood two 3-year-olds, one now the young crown prince, the other a little princess. That Zhang woman smiled and thanked me. Thank you, sister, for shielding me from the storm these past 3 years. You haven't met these 2 children yet, have you? She pushed the 2 children, dressed in brocade robes, toward me, boasting. These children were already in my womb before I entered the prince's mansion. Sister didn't know? She covered her mouth with a smile. You truly didn't know. Because when His Majesty was still a prince, he protected me well. I was confined to the inner courtyard, seemingly neglected. Yet in truth, I lacked nothing. My food, clothing, and comforts were no different from yours as the favored princess consort. Outside, chaos reigned. Those imperial princes would have devoured the prince alive. He said the world was too dangerous. By not showing me favor, I wouldn't become their target. But merely shielding me wasn't enough. He needed another consort to serve as a decoy. So the prince petitioned the late emperor to marry you. I was deeply unhappy about it. We were childhood sweethearts, perfectly suited. Watching him lavish affection on another woman filled me with resentment. It wasn't until that palace banquet, when you were poisoned and miscarried, that I finally understood His Majesty's intentions. He was truly protecting me all along. After that, I obediently followed His Majesty's arrangements. During that time, my sister endured many hidden plots. Didn't she? Zhang Yingxue touched her belly coyly. When my sister miscarried after being poisoned by tainted wine, I was safely nurturing my pregnancy in the inner quarters. When sister tumbled from the carriage and broke both legs, the prince was pressed against my belly, listening to the twin fetuses' movements. When sister was seized by rebels, the prince and I shared an unspoken understanding. His choice to select you was a calculated move. He knew the rebels would target his beloved first. By choosing you, he was actually shielding me. She stepped forward, her slender fingers pressing against my chin, mocking me with the arrogance of a victor. Song Jivan, what good is being a noble lady? You're merely the living target the prince uses to protect me. You and your children are my scapegoats. I looked at Xie Heng in shock and fury, hoping for a denial, but his gaze was as cold as ice. I never loved you. All these years of favoring you were merely because my imperial brother and the others threatened to harm the woman I cherished most. As Yingxue said, back when I was vying for the throne, I needed a living target to take the blows. He took Yingxue's hand to prevent her from becoming that target. I married you and pretended to cherish you. The city lit with lanterns on our wedding night was a declaration to all. The Ning prince cherished his consort. I brought you to every court banquet. Spoke of you constantly before the ministers, so everyone in the palace knew that harming you, the prince's consort, would tear my heart apart. Those who hated me but dared not harm me openly would instead turn their blades toward you. Their poisonings and murders would inevitably leave traces, giving me the perfect leverage. Wasn't that how the Qi prince ultimately fell at my hands? All the hidden plots and schemes would focus on you, while my true beloved, Yingxue, would remain safe and sound, bearing twins for me. Xie Heng was deeply pleased with his own elaborate scheme. My neglect of her was her protection, my favor toward you was also her protection. The wounds I bore for Xie Heng began to throb violently, as if mocking my former naivety and foolishness. Propping myself up, I mustered my last breath to demand, in all those years of affection, was there not a shred of genuine sincerity? Xie Heng roared with laughter. Sincerity? Sincerity is the cheapest, most worthless thing in this world. Your sincerity is nothing but a joke in this emperor's eyes. A sharp pain shot through my chest, and I violently coughed up a mouthful of black blood. Seeing me in such a pitiful state, the two children grabbed Zhang Yingxue's hand and asked, "Mother, she looks so pitiful. Who is she?" Zhang Yingxue laughed so hard the tassels on her phoenix crown jingled wildly. Her? She's the joke your father and I trampled underfoot. The two children then swarmed around me, pointing and giggling. Joke! Joke! There's a joke here! A bone-chilling wind swept in, snapping me from my past life's memories. I touched my still flat belly. Inside was the child I never bore in my previous life. I knew it was a boy. If he were born, he would be the heir to the Ning prince's mansion, and could even become the future young crown prince. Lifting my gaze, Xie Heng remained surrounded by ministers, while that cup of poisoned wine still sat quietly before me. A maid's figure hurriedly vanished into the rockery. She was the one who poisoned it. I must catch her, but I couldn't alert the snake. Instinctively, I looked toward the man seated on the left side of the banquet. As if sensing my gaze, he also looked at me. Just then, Xie Heng beckoned me over. I smiled and nodded, rising to my feet and casually picking up the poisoned cup from the table. Your Highness, I've warmed the wine for you. Before Xie Heng could respond, several ministers beside him scrambled to flatter. Oh my! The affection between your Highness and the princess consort is truly enviable. Xie Heng smoothly pulled me close and kissed my cheek. Just like in my past life, whenever we were in public, he deliberately reminded everyone that he loved me, his consort. This way, those enemies lurking in the shadows would target me even more. I'm a bit tipsy tonight, my beloved. Will you feed me? He was indeed slightly tipsy, deliberately acting coy with me in full view of the crowd. I smiled and replied, certainly. I personally fed the poisoned wine into Xie Heng's mouth. Seeing his Adam's apple bob, I knew the poison had reached his stomach. This poison was potent. In my past life, within 10 breaths of drinking it, my abdomen had twisted in agony. Watching the confident Xie Heng, I silently counted down. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2. Your Highness? What's wrong? Xie Heng, who had been joking moments ago, suddenly turned deathly pale. The wine cup slipped from his hand as he clutched his lower abdomen in agony. This potion, if consumed by a woman, induces miscarriage and renders her barren for life. For a man, well, it naturally targets his vital organ. All the ministers present had brought their female companions. Seeing the usually dignified Prince Ning suddenly clutching his groin in full view of everyone, each wore an expression of subtle discomfort. I pretended ignorance and even offered concerned advice to Xie Heng. Your Highness, mind your decorum. Xie Heng was in no state to heed my words. He swept the table clean of food and wine, collapsed to the floor, clutching his lower body and screaming in agony. Only then did the crowd realize Prince Ning might have been poisoned. "What has befallen your highness?" I feigned shock, stepping forward to support him while reaching out with concern. "Your highness, where does it hurt?" Xie Heng writhed in agony in my arms, unable to form a coherent word. I followed the direction of his hand. "Does it hurt here?" I suddenly clenched my fist. A faint, crisp sound of eggshells shattering echoed. Xie Heng's body stiffened abruptly as he glared at me. I offered a gentle smile and asked with feigned concern, "Your highness needn't be shy with your concubine. Is this where it hurts?" I pressed down hard. This time, the egg shattered completely in my palm. Xie Heng let out a wretched scream. His eyes rolled back, and he lost consciousness. After that, chaos ensued. Xie Heng was carried into the inner chambers. The imperial physician arrived swiftly. News spread through the inner courtyard, and Zhang Yingxue hurried over. Her figure was concealed beneath thick brocade robes. In my past life, Xie Heng had said he didn't want his concubines hovering before him, disrupting the marital bond between us. Thus, Zhang Yingxue wasn't required to pay daily respects to me. Consequently, I remained unaware of her pregnancy until she gave birth to twins. What has happened to the prince? How could he have been poisoned? How have you been caring for him? Zhang Yingxue spotted Xie Heng's bloodstains on the floor and roared at me in panic, as if she were the true mistress of this mansion. I scoffed and raised my hand, delivering a sharp slap across her face. The crisp smack of my palm against her cheek echoed through the courtyard, silencing it for a moment. Caught off guard, Zhang Yingxue's face was struck off-center, even dislodging the silver hairpin she wore to project an air of understated elegance. She turned to me in disbelief. You? You dare strike me? Do you know who I am?" "Ah. I hit you. So what? You think you have the right to yell at me?" Before she could finish, I struck her right cheek again. "The prince is poisoned and near death. You, a mere concubine, are making a racket here, unsettling the inner courtyard. Don't you deserve it? As the daughter of a military family, my blows pack a punch." Zhang Yingxue was sent sprawling to the ground. Clutching her stomach, she glared at me like an enraged she-wolf. Her eyes filled with venom. "Song Jivan. You, my maid." Yue snapped. "How dare you? An unloved concubine has the audacity to address the princess consort by name." Tears of anger and grievance welled in Zhang Yingxue's eyes. In my past life, Xie Heng and she used me as a living target, their collaboration seamless. I only realized at death that I'd been sewing a wedding gown for others all along. After Rebirth, I earnestly reflected on my own mistakes. Zhang Yingxue's father was a second-rank civil official who had once served as tutor to those imperial princes, though later disgraced by embezzlement and having his estate confiscated. A fallen noblewoman like Zhang Yingxue, raised in such scholarly lineage, still possessed an innate pride. For 3 years in the prince's mansion in her previous life, she remained unloved. Given her proud nature, she endured it for 2 reasons. First, Xie Heng's promises gave her a sense of security. Second, the princess consort, was far too easygoing. Even though she was an unloved concubine, as the principal wife of the prince's household, never once troubled her. Upon learning she was the daughter of Xie Heng's mentor, I even sympathized with her troubled background. When she married into the prince's household, I ensured she received the full dignity befitting a principal wife. After she entered the household, whenever there were occasional whispers about her lack of favor, I promptly silenced them. It was precisely my excessive kindness, making her life too comfortable, that allowed such a haughty and restless woman to endure all the way until Xie Heng ascended the throne, finally achieving her ambition. Given another chance, I would make her understand, a woman in the inner quarters, if not favored, can never hope to live with dignity. Only when she grows desperate will she cause trouble with Xie Heng. Only when Xie Heng loses his composure can I swiftly escape my fate as a living target. Just then, the medicine boy rushed out, shouting, "Bad news! The prince has coughed up blood." "What?" Zhang Yingxue panicked, scrambling to her feet and lunging toward the warm chamber. "Let me see the prince!" she screamed. "Let me in!" I ordered 2 maids to restrain her. Enraged and humiliated, she shouted, "The prince surely wants to see me most now. Let me see him." I sneered coldly. "Even if the prince draws his last breath tonight, a disfavored concubine like you is unworthy of seeing him one last time." Zhang Yingxue froze in place, staring at me in shock, likely unable to comprehend how the gentle princess consort Ning, who had been as gentle as spring rain just yesterday, could suddenly become so arrogant and vicious. I adjusted my hairpin and ordered coldly, "Guards, take her away. If she disturbs the prince with her clamor, strike her mouth again, show no mercy." 2 matrons responded with full-throated vigor, as the princess consort commands. I turned and entered the inner chamber, where Xie Heng lay utterly ravaged by the poison. His face was deathly pale, his lips purple, his legs trembling incessantly. Black bruised blood seeped continuously from his groin. I believed this poison had no cure. After all, in my past life, I never fully recovered from it, enduring nightly bouts of cold, wrenching pain in my lower abdomen. Yet the imperial physician had concocted a remedy. If the antidote is administered within 3 hours, complete recovery is assured. I froze. And if it's not taken within 3 hours? If the antidote is taken after 3 hours, Your Highness may never be able to. A chill ran through my body. So in my past life, I needn't have ended up barren for life. Why wasn't that medicine given to me in time? I remembered. After regaining consciousness in my past life, a maid told me that when I was poisoned and unconscious, it was Zhang Yingxue who had tended to me. On the day she entered the household, she had taken my hand and said, "Sister, you truly live up to your reputation as the daughter of a military family. One glance shows you're robust and fertile, unlike your frail younger sister." So after I miscarried from the poison, she deliberately watched me suffer all night before administering the antidote. This caused severe damage to my body, rendering me barren. Naturally, this only solidified the position of the twins growing within her. So that's how it was. That's how it was. I took the antidote and dismissed the imperial physician, insisting I would tend to the prince myself. Xie Heng adored me, and our marital bond was so strong that no one suspected I could harm him. The physician, suspecting nothing, withdrew with his attendants. Once we were alone, Xie Heng's lower body bled profusely. The venom had targeted his most vital organ. I knew the poison's cruelty. For a man, it felt like enduring castration every moment. His body convulsed in agony. How pitiful. Zhang Yingxue's methods, this lifetime. I'd use them on Xie Heng. With a flick of my wrist, I poured the antidote, the entire contents, down his throat. Yue beside me gasped, "Your Highness. What are you doing?" I set down the bowl, savoring Xie Heng's agony and disarray, and asked calmly, "Where are the armor guard?" The Song family had generations of military service. When I married into the prince's household, my dowry included a squad of soldiers retired from the front lines. These were warriors who had clashed with the D tribesmen in real combat on the battlefield. Though wounded and now serving in secondary roles, their martial skills remained intact. They were known as the armor-stripping guards. The reason I barely survived the countless plots against me in my previous life was thanks to the armor-stripping guards secretly protecting me. Xie Heng enjoyed great favor among the civil officials in court, but lacked the backing of military commanders. Only after he married me did the Song family choose his side. and this dowry of the retired armor guards became the most crucial protective force within the Prince Ning's residence. To outsiders, Xie Heng and I appeared deeply devoted to each other. And naturally, the retired armor guards remained loyal to him. But when the critical moment truly arrives, the only master to whom the retired armor guards will be loyal is me. Song Jivan. A dark figure leapt through the window. A disarmed guard, clad in black armor and masked, bowed. What are your orders, princess? I rose, straightened my sleeves, and instructed, the prince is poisoned and needs rest. Guard the door well. Let no one enter. The guard respectfully acknowledged the order, then added, the general requests the princess consort's presence at the rockery. The general? Startled, I left the warm chamber and hurried toward the garden rockery. Under the moonlight, that figure stood tall and dependable. I took a few quick steps and threw myself into his arms. Tears welling up. Brother. Song Yingxue startled at my embrace. He lifted me by the collar, his eyes widening at my tear-streaked face. Tonight's events made you cry? I stared intently at his face, listening to his familiar voice. Song Yingxue was my own brother, with father growing old. It was his military achievements that upheld the Song family's honor. It was also his backing that allowed me to establish a foothold in the Prince Ning's mansion. In my previous life, he always urged me to stay alert, warning me not to drown in Xie Heng's sweet words. Yet Xie Heng's schemes ran so deep, in the end, I was deceived by him. I never knew the fate of the Song family after my death in that past life. Xie Heng used me as a scapegoat. Did he also discard the Song family after using them? Like a hare killed and the hound discarded? Did my parents and elder brother meet a peaceful end? The answer was likely grim. At the thought of it, my tears burst forth like a dam breaking. I was not one to cry easily. Even when I fell from a tree as a child, my head split open and blood poured. I never shed a single tear. Song Yingxue knew I was bold, and tonight's ordeal hadn't truly harmed me. He intended to tease me about it. But seeing me truly sobbing until I gasped for breath, his expression turned serious. He raised his hand to wipe my tears, soothing me in a gentle voice. Don't be afraid. I'm here. You're carrying a child now, you mustn't cry. I stared intently at my elder brother. Only I had seen through Xie Heng's deceptive facade of kindness. The entire Song family still believed the Ning prince cherished me and remained loyal to the Ning prince's mansion. My brother is a pure minister who only protects the country. But someone like Xie Heng is utterly unworthy of loyalty. Brother, I'm not afraid. I stopped crying, stood on tiptoe but couldn't reach his ear, so I waved at him instead. He bent down. I whispered in his ear, I had a dream. In it, Xie Heng ascended the throne, and our Song family met the fate of being discarded like a hound after the hunt. Brother, think carefully. Throughout history, has any founding minister ever escaped the emperor's suspicion? Song Yingxue looked at me with surprise. I was filled with dread, brother. This is what I truly fear. If others heard these words, they would surely think I was experiencing pregnancy-induced anxiety, mistaking dreams for reality. But brother listened intently to my words. Between us, there was a blood-bound connection of the soul. He understood my fear and knew I wasn't joking. A strained voice reached my ears, and I noticed 2 guards escorting a maidservant with a cloth stuffed in her mouth. It was this servant who had poisoned the wine. Song Yingxue said, that glance you gave me at the banquet, I knew you needed help. Following your gaze toward the rockery, I saw this girl acting suspiciously and had her apprehended for you to deal with. I glanced at the maid and ordered the guards to remove the cloth from her mouth. The moment her mouth was freed, she cried out in protest, Princess consort, what crime have I committed? You poured poisoned wine before my very eyes. Did you think I hadn't seen? Seeing her evasion failed, the maid shouted, the princess consort knew full well that cup was poisoned. Yet you swapped it for Prince Ning's drink. Prince Qi merely sought to make Prince Ning suffer the loss of his beloved. But you, princess consort, truly intended to take his life. I sneered coldly. Suffer the loss of his beloved? How fitting! My life is far more precious than Prince Ning's. The maid hadn't expected such a retort. Don't you fear I'll turn on you and accuse you before His Highness Prince Ning? I stepped forward, pinching the maid's chin. The dead have no life left to make accusations. Only when the blade hidden in my hand pressed against her throat did panic seize her. No. 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 You wouldn't dare kill me. Don't you want my testimony? Once you're dead, what testimony could I possibly get? I slit her throat with a single stroke. Her body stiffened. Her eyes widened. The whites starkly terrifying in the darkness. Before her body collapsed, I grabbed her hand, dipped it in the spurting blood from her neck, and stamped it onto a confession I'd prepared long ago. The maid fell to the ground, twitching briefly before going still. The leader of the unarmored guards couldn't help asking, why not torture her? Your Highness? Make her confess that Prince Qi was the mastermind behind the poisoning. She dared to attempt poisoning, clearly a loyal agent who won't talk. Rather than waste effort torturing her, I'd rather solidify her guilt outright. Song Mingchen seized my hand, wiping the blood from my palm. Why must you do it yourself? Brother handles everything. His gaze fixed on me with unwavering resolve. Fear not. I won't let the dream become reality. I smiled faintly. Brother. This was merely an appetizer. I turned my gaze towards Xie Heng's bedchamber. Many more will fall by my hand in time. At dawn, I finally permitted Imperial Physician Su to re-examine Xie Heng. The physician gasped at the prince's deathly pale complexion. His lips dark and purplish, and the utterly sunken area beneath his waist. He hurriedly felt for a pulse. Then cautiously looked up at me. Your Highness. Why has the poison in the prince's body not abated at all? It even seems to have intensified. I countered. That's for you to explain. Physician. Last night, I personally administered the medicine you prescribed to His Highness. But judging by his pulse, the physician replied uneasily. It appears His Highness never took the medicine. Are you implying I didn't administer the medicine to His Highness? I met the physician's gaze without flinching. Who doesn't know of our deep affection? His Highness cherishes me, and I return that devotion. If an antidote existed, would I withhold it from him? Physician Li. Slandering the princess consort carries grave consequences. Your servant dares not. Xie Heng's influence is now at its peak. To outsiders, I, his most favored consort and the most likely future crown princess. Indeed the next empress. Though I've always treated others with gentleness, that doesn't mean I lack authority. The physician trembled. Your Highness. Please calm your anger. It's just that this humble servant truly detected no traces of medication in His Highness's pulse. Then the fault lies with your medical skill. Physician. I replied with righteous indignation. Last night's medicine was poorly prepared. Fortunately, His Highness still draws breath. If you do not hasten to remedy this oversight, do you intend to wait until he truly passes away? Only for the Emperor to execute your entire clan? Your Highness. Spare my life. I smiled. Physician. Focus on detoxifying His Highness. I can pretend last night's medicinal error never occurred. Naturally. You must also guard your tongue. Should you speak out of turn? Remember this, I alone hold the prince's affection. Nothing will come of it for me. But you must fear for your own head. Your servant understands. Your servant understands. Xie Heng and I share a love so profound that all of you, court and country alike, must acknowledge it. The physician may doubt his own skill, but he dares not doubt my devotion to Xie Heng. He hastily prepared a new antidote, increasing its potency. He personally watched the medicine boy administer it to Xie Heng. After swallowing the potion, Xie Heng's complexion visibly eased, and color slowly returned to his lips. But this antidote arrived 3 hours too late. Xie Heng's descendants had already been obliterated. His only 2 remaining bloodlines now lie within my womb and Zhang Yingxue's. It was nearly noon when the inner chamber doors of the warm pavilion finally opened. Zhang Yingxue still stood outside, her lips swollen and red, the result of being struck by my wet nurse after she had shouted loudly outside the palace last night. Spotting me emerge, she shot me a venomous glare. Yet her attention was immediately drawn away as she rushed into the hall to check on Xie Heng's condition. Xie Heng had just regained consciousness. Your Highness! Your Highness! Zhang Yingxue wept, her tears falling like pear blossoms, as she called out to Xie Heng in a soft, pleading voice. Still groggy from waking, Xie Heng forgot to put on a show and reached out to wipe away her tears. I stood quietly by the screen, watching. What a lovely pair of adulterous dogs. After 2 days of medicine, Xie Heng finally regained some strength. He was already furious upon learning poison had been slipped into his wine, damaging his vital organ. Zhang Yingxue continued to lament in his ear, recounting how I had tormented her that night while he lay poisoned and unconscious. Even if it was poison, who would dare target your highness so brazenly? I heard from the maids in the front courtyard that the cup of wine was personally served to your highness by the princess consort. Her tone was subtly charged. Reminded by her words, Xie Heng recalled the excruciating pain in his groin before he lost consciousness. Princess consort, perhaps you should explain yourself? Are you now suspecting me? Your highness? Would you rather believe Zhang Yingxue than trust me? I feigned heartbreak. At this moment, Xie Heng still played along to indulge me, reaching out to take my hand. Jivan, how could I ever doubt you? It's just. He likely still remembered the agony of my crushing grip. My eyes brimmed with tears. Your highness cherishes me, how could I ever harm you? That night when you were poisoned, I panicked too. In my flustered state, I must have hurt you. The poisoner has been caught. This is her confession before taking her own life. She admitted it was Prince Qi who ordered her to poison you. At the mention of evidence, the shadow of suspicion in Xie Heng's eyes vanished instantly. He took the confession to examine it closely. The statement alone would be enough to bring Prince Qi to his knees once more. That cup of wine was meant for me. Yet by some twist of fate, it harmed your highness instead. It is all my fault. Had I known, I should have drunk that poisoned wine myself. My lady, do not speak such nonsense. How could you have known the wine was poisoned? Xie Heng embraced me. You carry our child. I am only grateful that I mistakenly drank the poisoned wine myself. Otherwise, the child might not have survived. He had severed his own lifeline, yet his acting remained flawless. As he spoke these words to me, his gaze was tender and loving, showing not a trace of insincerity. But in my past life, when I miscarried from that poisoned wine, Xie Heng was in the back courtyard personally feeding Zhang Yingxue pregnancy-preserving medicine, coaxing her, rest easy and nurture your child. Thankfully, today's poisoned wine didn't harm you. Your highness. Only now do I understand the painstaking care behind your neglect of me. Zhang Yingxue pressed her belly against Xie Heng's embrace, her voice tinged with both lingering fear and schadenfreude. Tonight, her child became the scapegoat for mine. The princess consort is merely a living target standing before me, one who won't survive much longer. I'll no longer compete with her for superficial favors. But in this lifetime, Xie Heng is my living target. I nestled into Xie Heng's embrace right before Zhang Yingxue, cooing sweetly, I knew it, your highness cares most for me and our child. Zhang Yingxue glared at me through clenched teeth, her fist already tight within her sleeve. That very night, Yui reported that Zhang Yingxue had erupted in a quarrel with Xie Heng in the rear courtyard. Do you know how she tormented me that night? By candlelight. Zhang Yingxue threw a fit, the prince claims only I exist in his heart. Yet he lets Song Jivan humiliate me like that. Afterward, not only did he not punish her, but he treated her with the same affection as before. What am I then? What about the child in my womb? Lower your voice. Xie Heng, headache-inducing from her shrieking, growled, do you want the entire mansion to know you're also carrying a child? Let them know. I'd love for everyone to know. I, Zhang Yingxue, am the Ning Prince's true beloved. The child in my womb is the rightful heir to the Ning Prince's title. Why should Song Jivan gain status through her child while I'm confined to the back courtyard? Bullied by everyone? Who dares bully you? Jivan has always managed this mansion impeccably. Even if you're not favored outwardly. Who would dare treat you with disrespect? Xie Heng instinctively defended me with these facts, the night I was poisoned. Jivan said her concern caused her to act rashly and asked you not to hold it against her. Now you're wailing like this, it's utterly unbecoming. Zhang Yingxue's eyes welled with tears, you actually praise her and take her side like this? Xie Heng frowned, I've made it clear to you, the succession struggle has reached its most critical phase. Prince Qi is using every underhanded tactic to suppress me. You are the woman I cherish most. My lack of favor and neglect are all for your protection. So what if Song Jivan is showered with favor now? When the moment comes, she'll be the living target for both of us. All the open and hidden attacks will be directed solely at her. If you just keep a low profile, there will be plenty of dignified, good days ahead. In the past, Zhang Yingxue might have listened to this reasoning. But after this incident, her pride had been deeply wounded. Moreover, the poisoned wine Prince Qi had secretly laced hadn't reached Song Jivan's lips. In her previous life, she had witnessed Song Jivan being poisoned firsthand before resigning herself to endure humiliation in the inner quarters. She stared at Xie Heng, listening to every word of his defense for Song Jivan. Consumed by fury, what kind of target was this? Clearly, Song Jivan was reaping all the benefits. She rushed forward and embraced Xie Heng, Your Highness. Please don't leave tonight. Xie Heng patiently explained with earnest words, I cannot favor you. Zhang Yingxue wept, the child in my womb misses its father too. Just this one night. Please? The imperial physician said I'm carrying twins. 2 children in me, can't that hold your highness's heart? Xie Heng had been privately informed by the physician that while medication might allow for physical intimacy, his ability to impregnate a woman was utterly gone. This meant the twins in Zhang Yingxue's womb and Song Jivan's child were his only bloodline. In the past, Xie Heng would never have relented so easily. But now, his heart softened. He turned and embraced Zhang Yingxue back. Behave yourself. Song Jivan will eventually become the stepping stone for you to become empress. Zhang Yingxue obediently nodded, clinging tightly to Xie Heng, reluctant to part. That night, the entire prince's residence knew, after half a year, the prince had favored his concubine Zhang from the inner quarters. Early the next morning, Xie Heng entered the palace with that confession to report to the emperor. Zhang Yingxue actually came to pay her respects to me of her own accord. She had discarded the clothes and silver ornaments she'd used to pretend to be Su Jian. Dressed in a brocade robe embroidered with Suzhou embroidery and adorned with golden-laid jade hairpins, she approached me and performed a languid curtsy. Greetings to the princess consort. Her bow was merely a slight dip before she straightened her back, smiling as she said, Your Highness, please forgive me. The prince was with me until the wee hours last night, and I'm simply too exhausted this morning. I leisurely sipped my tea and replied in a calm tone. It seems the prince was quite fond of you last night. Congratulations on regaining his favor. Sister. Zhang Yingxue's lips curled in smug satisfaction. Her defiant gaze was a declaration of war. She didn't realize that the more she lost her composure in vying for Xie Heng's favor, the safer I remained as the living target. It wasn't until evening that Xie Heng returned from the palace. That very night, an imperial decree stripped Prince Qi of his command over the imperial city's guards as punishment for poisoning his brother. With the emperor aged and gravely ill, this military authority naturally fell to his son. With Prince Qi punished, Prince Ning, Xie Heng, became the sole choice. Within Xie Heng's camp, the only one who truly understood how to command military officers was my brother. Thus, the command of the imperial guards passed into my brother's hands. To show his gratitude, he made a special visit to the prince's residence to see me. He even brought Xie Heng a century-old Cistanche deserticula. "Your Highness, I heard you were poisoned," he said. "I specially sought this herb from the western regions. Drink its decoction every night before bed. It will restore your vigor." Xie Heng's brows lifted at this. "Truly?" Zhang Yingxue replied, "Your Highness is my sister's husband. Your well-being ensures hers. This medicine is naturally of the finest quality." Xie Heng beamed. "Mingchen, you are indeed this prince's finest brother. Rest assured, once our great cause is accomplished, your sister shall be an unchallenged empress, and the Song family will be the greatest meritorious subjects, second only to the throne." Song Mingchen replied, "Thank you, Your Highness." Beneath his respectfully lowered gaze lay a deep, icy chill. Brother spent the entire afternoon at the prince's residence, discussing affairs in the study. Zhang Yingxue hid among the bamboo groves surrounding the study, overhearing every word Xie Heng spoke. Her face drained of color as she clutched her belly, teetering on the edge of collapse. Empress? Did he truly intend to make Song Jivan empress? What would that make me? "Come evening," Yue reported, "Your Highness. As you instructed." I deliberately spread word that the prince and General Song were discussing family matters in the study. As expected, Lady Zhang came under the pretense of delivering pastries to eavesdrop outside. I toyed with the powder in my hand. Let her listen. The more she hears, the more anxious she'll become. And when someone grows anxious, they're more likely to do foolish things. Calculating the time, the carriage accident from my past life would occur in 3 days. The eldest princess's birthday banquet was to be held at the princess's residence. When the invitation arrived at the Prince Ning residence, Xie Heng had not yet returned from court. I, however, deliberately timed my visit back to the Song family home to see my parents. This invitation was thus received by Zhang Yingxue. After the eunuch explained the purpose, Zhang Yingxue asked, "Only the princess consort may attend? May I not go?" The eunuch replied, "At such a grand imperial banquet, only the principal consorts of imperial kin are qualified to attend. I implore Lady Zhang to understand her place. By protocol, you are not even entitled to receive this invitation in the front hall. However, since both the prince and princess are unfortunately absent today, I have temporarily entrusted it to you. Please ensure you deliver it to the Princess of Ning without fail." This servant takes his leave. After the eunuch from the princess's residence departed, Zhang Yingxue muttered under her breath, "What legitimate wife? I am the only legitimate wife in the prince's heart." Her maid said, "Madam, the princess will return to the mansion at noon today. It would be best to deliver the invitation to her then." That eunuch just now looked at me as if I were some lowly concubine. But I am the one who holds the prince's heart. Zhang Yingxue clutched the invitation, her eyes fixed on the words princess consort printed upon it, her heart boiling with fury. Everyone knows Xie Heng loves Princess Ning most. Everyone holds that woman in high regard. What am I then? At such an occasion, why should only she be allowed to steal the spotlight? She made up her mind. Summoning her personal maid, "You, fetch my most splendid gown and jewelry. At the princess's birthday banquet, I will dazzle the crowd. Let everyone know that the mistress of the Ning prince's residence is not some princess consort, it is me." The maid hesitated. "Mistress, this is against protocol." "My protocol is the protocol." Zhang Yingxue raised her hand and slapped the maid across the face. "Do you think I'm out of favor? Even a servant like you dares lecture me on etiquette. This servant knows her mistake. This servant." This servant will do as commanded at once." The maid retreated, weeping. That evening, upon returning to the mansion, I deliberately inquired, "Have any invitations arrived today?" The servants around me dared not respond. I recall the princess's birthday is approaching. No banquet invitations? Zhang Yingxue, seated nearby, looked slightly uneasy but kept her composure. Instead, she remarked, "The princess and her consort have always been deeply devoted. She's quite the romantic soul. Her failure to invite you, sister, suggests she holds no affection for you. Though everyone claims the prince favors you most, the princess sees through such things." This was her subtle, veiled insinuation that Xie Heng's true heart belonged to her, not me. Seeing her smug, self-satisfied posture, I let out a soft laugh. I didn't refute her, nor did I ask any further questions. 3 days later, the princess's residence was bustling with activity. Every royal relative who could attend was present. Even if the men couldn't come, the noble ladies would certainly arrive bearing lavish gifts to offer congratulations. The princess consort of Ning Wangfu has arrived. 4 horse-drawn carriages halted at the mansion's entrance, drawing everyone's gaze. Thanks to Xie Heng's exclusive devotion to me, the princess consort was always the center of attention wherever she went. Naturally, the royal relatives all recognized me as well. The crowd had expected to see what rare treasures the princess consort had brought from the Ningguang today. But stepping down from the carriage was an unfamiliar face. Zhang Yingxue was resplendent in a golden brocade robe, her head adorned with a pure gold peony. Her attire and bearing instantly overshadowed the birthday celebrant. The eldest princess. The eldest princess, who had been smiling warmly, saw Zhang Yingxue's showy, attention-stealing outfit and her smile immediately faded. Today was, after all, a joyous occasion, so the princess refrained from making a scene. Yet she would not spare face for a concubine who showed such lack of propriety. Stepping closer, she asked, her face inches from hers, "Where is Jivan? Why has she not come today?" My invitation was extended to the Prince of Ning and the princess consort. The prince may be occupied with state affairs. But why has the princess not come? Zhang Yingxue, relying on her status as Xie Heng's true love, grew bold. She warmly took the eldest princess's hand and declared, "Princess, my presence is equally valid." The princess glanced at her hand and asked coldly, "What position do you hold in the prince's household? I've never seen you before." "I am His Highness Prince Ning's sole legitimate concubine." The surrounding crowd began murmuring, "Is she the concubine Prince Ning took in recently? Rumor has it her family committed a grave crime. The prince took pity on her and made her his concubine. A mere concubine dares attend the princess's grand banquet today? What kind of precedent is this setting? Prince Ning cherishes his consort above all. At an occasion like this, it should be the consort attending, both in reason and propriety. Indeed, could it be the consort has fallen out of favor?" Zhang Yingxue heard every whisper. She straightened her back and lifted her face, declaring, "Today, His Highness has sent me to represent the Ning Prince's residence in celebrating the princess's birthday festivities." The surrounding crowd erupted again. Could this concubine truly be sharing the princess consort's favor? For a concubine to attend such a banquet suggests her standing in the mansion rivals the princess consort's. They all said the Prince of Ning cherished the princess consort most. But now it seems this concubine might be the new favorite. The princess consort is about to taste neglect. Zhang Yingxue reveled in being the center of such gossip. Her family had been confiscated. She'd been confined to the inner courtyard. And I'd deliberately humiliated her once more. Her pride was deeply wounded. She desperately needed this spotlight to reclaim her dignity and honor. The eldest princess withdrew the hand Zhang Yingxue was clutching, and Zhang Yingxue sensed the subtle shift in the princess's gaze. She had once been a lady of noble birth and knew full well her actions today were improper. But so what? She intended for everyone to know she was the Ning prince's true favorite concubine. She, Zhang Yingxue, would claim her share of the glory and prestige within this circle of imperial relatives and nobility. Regardless of others' opinions, she strode into the princess's residence with unwavering confidence. Prince Ning loved her, and she carried his twins. These two assets alone gave her ample reason to be bold. By the time the banquet ended, it was already afternoon. The Prince Ning's carriage rolled majestically down the imperial city streets, drawing envious glances from many commoners. Many murmured in unison, "The Prince Ning's consort is truly favored." Hearing this, Zhang Yingxue deliberately lifted the carriage curtain, letting everyone see that she sat within the splendid four-horse carriage. The maidservants by Zhang Yingxue's side were also assigned a task. They spread the word everywhere: the lady riding in this carriage is consort Zhang, the beloved concubine of His Highness Prince Ning, not the Ning prince's consort. After this tour, Zhang Yingxue became thoroughly famous throughout the imperial city. Some mocked the Zhang family's past scandal, but more people said the Ning prince's consort had fallen from favor, and the prince was now favoring his concubine over his wife. While Zhang Yingxue reveled in the joy of being so publicly praised, her personal maid felt uneasy. "Mistress, all this today was done without the prince's knowledge. When he finds out, he'll likely be furious." These days, famine ravaged Hicheng. Xie Heng, entangled in court affairs, returned home from the palace late into the night. News of such domestic trifles inevitably lagged behind the demands of state. Zhang Yingxue could guess Xie Heng would throw a tantrum upon learning of this. She touched her still flat belly, unconcerned. "Even if His Highness gets angry with me, he won't truly harm me. After all, within me lies the most precious twin bloodline of the Prince Ning's household." No sooner had the words left her lips than the carriage lurched violently. Zhang Yingxue was thrown backward against the carriage wall. Just as she was about to berate the coachman, the horses suddenly whinnied and bolted wildly. Zhang Yingxue's body was tossed about, and with a thud, she landed squarely on her abdomen. "Ah! My belly!" she screamed in agony. But the carriage's violent jolting showed no sign of stopping. From the outside, all four horses of the carriage seemed to have bolted in different directions, throwing the entire vehicle into a state of extreme imbalance. It careened relentlessly toward nearby merchant stalls and houses. Outside, guards and maids stood frozen in panic, watching the carriage being dragged wildly by the frenzied horses. Finally, two dull thuds echoed as the two left wheels snapped off. The entire carriage tilted and crashed to the ground with a thunderous roar, kicking up a cloud of dust. "Ah!" a maid shrieked. "The mistress! Quick! Save the mistress! She's carrying the prince's child!" The crowd snapped into action just as the frantic horses galloped away, guards rushing after them. Several maids rushed forward to lift the carriage curtain. There lay Lady Zhang, who moments ago had been radiant and elegant, now disheveled and battered, her hair loose and tangled, her body twisted in an unnatural position inside the carriage. Her dress below the waist was already soaked through with blood. "Imperial study! Forbidden city!" A eunuch burst in breathlessly. "Your Majesty, an incident has occurred." The aged emperor coughed twice. "What happened? Why the panic?" The Prince Ning's carriage was overturned in a collision on the street. Xie Heng, who had been bent over handling provincial affairs, snapped his head up. "What did you say?" The eunuch continued. "Today is the eldest princess's birthday. The princess's mansion hosted a banquet, and the Ning prince's mansion attended. Unexpectedly, on the way back, the horses suddenly went wild, sending the carriage careening wildly. The carriage was completely wrecked." Xie Heng merely furrowed his brow. "And the princess consort?" He assumed only the principal wife, Song Jivan, would attend such a grand banquet at the princess's residence. The young eunuch followed his train of thought and replied, "It said the princess consort is gravely injured. The child may not survive." Xie Heng sprang to his feet. In the past, the loss of Song Jivan's child would have meant little. But now that his own seed had been crippled, the loss of a child meant severing a bloodline. Xie Heng couldn't help but feel the pain. The emperor, advanced in years, could not bear such news. The shock triggered another bout of coughing. Xie Heng remembered to pour his father a cup of tea. "You must return to the mansion at once." The emperor seemed more anxious than he was. Xie Heng bowed respectfully before heading out of the palace. Though hurried, he maintained his composure and bearing. This must be another act of retaliation from the Prince Qi's estate. Fortunately, the one in the carriage was undoubtedly his legitimate wife, Song Jivan. Fortunately, the child lost was the one in Song Jivan's womb. He felt regret, but not profound grief. After all, Zhang Yingxue carried twins. Song Jivan's miscarriage after falling from the carriage, if he could uncover even a shred of evidence, it would grant him another prime opportunity to suppress Prince Qi. With these thoughts, he made his way back to the prince's residence without haste. Before he even reached the gates, however, he saw the Song family's carriage approaching slowly. Under Xie Heng's puzzled gaze, the carriage came to a stop. I lifted my skirt and stepped down from the carriage with leisurely grace. Xie Heng froze. "Princess? You? How? Your Highness." I curtsied to him. Xie Heng studied me. Not only was I unharmed, not a hair out of place, but I looked radiant. You're fine?" I smiled at Xie Heng. "Did your Highness think something would happen to me?" Xie Heng gasped in shock. "Then who was the one who tumbled from the carriage and miscarried?" A mocking smile played at the corners of my eyes as I feigned surprise. "What? Sister Zhang was pregnant? Good heavens! My poor sister Zhang." She accepted the princess's invitation and went to the banquet alone, never expecting such a tragedy on her way back. Before I could finish, Xie Heng had already bolted into the mansion. Watching his retreating figure, I touched the peaceful, healthy life growing inside me and smiled coldly. I didn't need to lift a finger. The Qi prince was the sharpest blade at my disposal. In the rear courtyard, 4 or 5 maids hurried out, each carrying a basin of blood-stained water. Approaching Zhang Yingxue's bedroom, the pungent stench of blood filled the air, mingled with her agonized screams and wails. "It hurts so much. Your Highness. My child. My child. Ah. The pain is killing me." 3 or 4 imperial physicians stood by, diagnosing and desperately trying to save her. Yet they all delivered the same grim truth: the child could not be saved. Half an hour later, 2 masses of blood and flesh were extracted from Zhang Yingxue's body by the physicians. Indeed, they were twins. Xie Heng staggered. A grim, twisted smile suddenly froze on his pale face. Then his entire expression collapsed into despair. They were actually a boy and a girl. "My children. My 2 children." He collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I stood nearby, listening silently. "Xie Heng, in my past life, when I miscarried our child, you shed only a single tear for him. After that, you went to the back courtyard to feed Zhang Yingxue her pregnancy-sustaining medicine. Does it hurt? It should hurt. But compared to the suffering I endured in my past life, all this pales in comparison." The entire royal mansion was plunged into gloom over the twins' miscarriage. Zhang Yingxue lost both children, her body severely weakened. She lay bedridden for over a month before regaining the strength to walk. Throughout that month, Xie Heng went mad trying to uncover who had tampered with the carriage. In my past life, when I fell from the carriage, he showed no urgency whatsoever. He even had the presence of mind to go to the back courtyard to listen for the dragon and phoenix twins' heartbeats. But this time, the person who struck from the shadows was exceptionally well hidden. Unable to find the culprit and having lost both children, Xie Heng was consumed by a dark, stormy mood, ready to explode at the slightest provocation. On this rainy day, his attendant suddenly sent word summoning me to the warm pavilion. The moment I stepped inside, the sickly and haggard Zhang Yingxue, still recovering from her injuries, pointed at me and screamed, "It should have been you, the princess consort, who attended that banquet. You knew the carriage would be in danger all along. Didn't you? Sister Zhang, have you lost your mind from illness?" I retorted innocently. The eldest princess holds a birthday banquet every year. I certainly remembered this event, which is why I specifically asked you that day if you had received any invitations. You yourself said you hadn't. You even said, even if the princess were to invite anyone, she wouldn't invite me. Have you forgotten your own words? I kindly reminded her, it's fine if you've forgotten. Many servants in the mansion heard it that day. Shall we call them to testify? Zhang Yingxue glared at me viciously, yet couldn't utter a single word of rebuttal. I pressed her relentlessly. That day, when you attended the banquet, not only did your attire outshine the birthday girl, the princess, but you also flaunted yourself in public. Now, everyone on the streets is saying that the prince favors you, his concubine Zhang Liang, above all others. Zhang Yingxue gritted her teeth. Song Jivan, you did this deliberately. My 2 children are gone. Your child is the only young heir left. Her gaze suddenly fixed on my visibly swollen belly, and she lunged forward, attempting to knock me down. Maids and wet nurses intervened just in time. Already weakened, Zhang Yingxue stumbled and fell to the floor before she could reach me. Enough! Xie Heng rose, but instead of helping Zhang Yingxue up, he rebuked her. Don't you think things are bad enough? Your Highness, the princess consort did this deliberately. How convenient that she wasn't home the day the invitation arrived from the princess's residence. She clearly had ulterior motives. This shouldn't have happened to me. You were the one who snatched that invitation. You attended the banquet behind our backs. You hogged all the spotlight, only to become the target of everyone's anger. Do you understand? Xie Heng roared in fury. His plans had been meticulously laid out. Everything under his control. Now it was all ruined by Zhang Yingxue. That vain and shallow woman. He had lost a pair of dragon and phoenix twins, the most heartbreaking price he had paid. I feigned fright, clutching my belly to look uneasy. Xie Heng immediately grew tense over me. Your Highness, please do not disturb the fetus. He could never have another child. This one in my womb was his only bloodline. If anything happened to me, Xie Heng would truly lose his mind. After all, a qualified heir to the throne must not only possess talent and win the people's hearts but also have the most fundamental ability to produce offspring. Should anything happen to the child within me, Xie Heng would be utterly cut off from the line of succession. Throughout history, no emperor has ever designated a prince without heirs as crown prince. Your Highness, Princess Zhang is in such an agitated state. She does not blame those who plotted against her, but instead reproaches me for not stopping her from attending the banquet that day. I fear her extreme emotions may drive her to do something irrational to our child. Song Jivan, you vile woman. What are you pretending for? Zhang Yingxue lunged at me again, but this time Xie Heng kicked her away. Enough. If you dare harm the child in the princess consort's womb, I shall have you torn limb from limb. With the loss of the twins, Xie Heng's attitude toward Zhang Yingxue grew subtly icy. That kick held no restraint. Zhang Yingxue was sent sprawling across the floor, struggling for a long moment before scrambling to her feet in disarray. Beginning today, return to your snow-warm pavilion. Reflect in seclusion and focus on nursing your illness. Zhang Yingxue cried out in accusation. Your Highness, how dare you treat me this way for her sake? Xie Heng's face was cold and indifferent. To protect Zhang Yingxue, he had repeatedly urged her to keep her composure, exhausting every kind word and reason to persuade her. He told her to endure the solitude, to rest peacefully in the inner courtyard and nurture her pregnancy. promising that glory and wealth would naturally await her and the child. Yet this woman craved vanity, was restless and unteachable, insisting on seeking the limelight. Now the entire imperial city knew that the Prince of Ning favored his concubine over his wife. Song Jivan, this living target, was now a mere formality. Should anyone in the shadows strike again, it would surely be aimed at Zhang Yingxue. This pawn of his was utterly useless now. He was ambitious, plotting to seize the throne, and he despised fools above all else. Once, he truly cherished Zhang Yingxue, but that affection had been drained dry by the loss of their dragon and phoenix twins. He spoke harshly to Zhang Yingxue, yet turned to me with gentle coaxing, urging me to rest and nurture my pregnancy, forbidding me from leaving the palace unless absolutely necessary. A man's heart can change in the blink of an eye. How bitter that I failed to see this truth in my past life. No matter how Zhang Yingxue wailed and protested, Xie Heng refused to see her again. Half dragged, half carried out of the warm chamber by several maids, she now bore no child and had fallen utterly from favor. Naturally, no one spared her any courtesy, and their hands were not gentle. I nestled closer into Xie Heng's embrace, watching Zhang Yingxue being dragged away. A triumphant smile touched my lips. A chill ran through Zhang Yingxue's body as realization struck. She screamed, cursing, Song Jivan, you ruined me. You did this on purpose. You used others to do your dirty work. You vile woman. Your Highness. I nestled weakly into Xie Heng's embrace. Sister Zhang must be mad. I'm so scared. Xie Heng held me tighter, soothingly saying, fear not. This prince will not let that fool harm you. Before the child was safely delivered, Xie Heng would certainly protect my safety. He treated me even better than before. At the same time, my brother, who had gone to war, achieved great military glory on the front lines. Xie Heng's gaze toward me grew increasingly admiring. I knew I had become the most precious and valuable pawn in his eyes. The emperor's illness worsened. Xie Heng, exhausted by the Zhang Yingxue affair these past days and still suffering from the after-effects of his poisoning, found himself too drained to even enter the palace to attend to the emperor. Prince Qi seized this opening, volunteering to attend to the emperor's illness for a month. The emperor, moved by filial affection, forgave Prince Qi's past transgressions and lifted his banishment. The Qi prince's mansion regained its influence. In recent days, rumors began circulating within the imperial city. The Song family's achievements overshadowed the sovereign, and Song Mingchen's military exploits made him a worthy candidate for the throne. These malicious rumors were aimed squarely at the Song family. Xie Heng paid them little heed. Such gossip posed no real threat to the Ning prince's interests, rather, it would serve as evidence for settling accounts with the Song family once he ascended the throne. I was frantic with worry and privately wrote to my elder brother, warning him to guard against the venom of rumors, for it is often the countless tongues without bones that inflict the deepest wounds. My brother replied, little sister, it now seems your dream was true. The Prince of Ning reaps the Song family's military glory while attempting to make us his living target. Those who use others as living targets will ultimately die pierced by countless arrows. Little sister, you shall see. On the day of my brother's triumphant return, Xie Heng and I personally went to the city gates to welcome him. My brother glanced at me, then performed a full, respectful subjects bow before the people and the entire army, a clear declaration to all that no matter how powerful the Song family grew, they remained loyal subjects. His military achievements were implicitly credited to Prince Ning, and ultimately, only Prince Ning would reap the rewards. With that single kneel, my brother shifted the tide of rumors in the imperial capital overnight. Prince Ning had made him a living target. But with this kneel, that target had shifted squarely onto Prince Ning himself. Meanwhile, the emperor coughed up blood and fell unconscious once more. Prince Qi grew desperate. With Xie Heng so powerful, prolonging the struggle offered little hope for victory for the Qi prince's household. All their previous maneuvers had targeted those around Xie Heng, yet Xie Heng himself remained untouched. Instead, they had only shot themselves in the foot. Prince Qi gritted his teeth, this time. I will take Xie Heng's life. On the third day of the emperor's unconsciousness, Prince Qi falsely issued an imperial edict, accusing Prince Ning's mansion of overstepping its bounds and harboring treasonous intentions. He then directly mobilized troops to surround Prince Ning's residence. The Song family had long been on guard. As the two armies faced off, chaos erupted in the imperial city overnight. This mutiny had come 2 years earlier than in my previous life. Protected by the unarmed guards, the Ning prince's residence seemed secure. Yet a squad of rebels slipped through the back gate, taking me by surprise as they charged straight toward my Shui pavilion. Leading them was none other than Zhang Yingxue. Aren't you here to kill the Prince Ning's consort? She is her. Kill her. Kill the child in her womb. Then the Prince Ning's line will be cut off. I shielded my belly, Zhang Yingxue. Have you lost your mind? I am mad. Zhang Yingxue hissed, her face inches from mine. But when these rebels rape and kill you, you'll go mad too. Isn't it better to go mad together? I sneered coldly. Do you think these rebels will spare you? No sooner had the words left my mouth than a rebel's blade pressed against Zhang Yingxue's throat. Zhang Yingxue gasped in shock. What are you doing? I led you past the armor-stripping guards. How dare you bite the hand that feeds you? The rebel leader declared. Princess Qi miscarried because Prince Ning poisoned her. She died of grief soon after. His Highness declared this rebellion tonight is not just for the throne, but to avenge his beloved wife. Let the 2 women Prince Ning cherished most bear the consequences of his crimes. Take these 2 women to the cliff's edge. The cliff wind was bitterly cold and chilling. Zhang Yingxue and I were held hostage at the cliff's edge, blades pressed against our necks. From the precipice, we could see the imperial city in utter chaos, flashes of fire erupting. Xie Heng arrived with his troops. Your Highness, only one of the princess consort and your beloved concubine can live. The rebels threatened. Choose one. This scene brought back memories of my past life. In almost identical circumstances, Xie Heng had chosen me without hesitation. Before I could even feel moved, the bandits had stabbed me through the chest. Now, Xie Heng's gaze turned to me as he declared, releasing Yingxue. Zhang Yingxue froze. Your Highness? Overwhelmed with joy, she wept. I knew it. You only have eyes for me. I knew I. Her words trailed off as a sudden chill pierced her chest. Looking down, she saw the rebel's blade already embedded in her heart. His Royal Highness Qi ordered, whomever Prince Ning chooses, kill first. He must forever lose his beloved. Zhang Yingxue's mouth opened, unable to utter a sound. Blood poured from her lips. As she collapsed, the armor guard and Song family soldiers fired simultaneously, killing the rebel soldier holding me hostage. I escaped unharmed. Xie Heng rushed forward, pulling me tightly into his embrace. He asked urgently, Is the child okay? Is the child okay? I'm fine, Your Highness. I replied calmly. The child is fine too. That's good. Xie Heng exhaled deeply, holding me close. Zhang Yingxue lay sprawled on the ground, her eyes fixed upward on Xie Heng and me embracing. The blade hadn't pierced her heart. Instead, the excruciating pain triggered a hazy memory. In that memory, she too had been held hostage, faced with the same ultimatum. Yet Xie Heng had chosen Song Jivan without hesitation. No, none of this was right. Zhang Yingxue struggled to her feet. Everything tonight was wrong. She wasn't the one who should have been chosen. She wasn't the one who should have been stabbed. She saw Xie Heng holding Song Jivan, explaining to her willingly, I know the Qi King's methods. Whomever I choose will be in danger. So I deliberately chose Zhang Yingxue. Jivan. Zhang Yingxue is merely your living target. Tonight's outcome is settled. Once you bear a prince, You shall be the sole empress. Zhang Yingxue's eyes widened in horror. No. Wrong. Everything is wrong. These words were clearly meant for her. Song Jivan was the living target. The empress's throne should have been hers. Zhang Yingxue's. Wrong. Everything is wrong. She tried to scream, but her severe injuries allowed only blood-tinged foam to escape her lips. Not a single coherent word. Seeing her struggle pitifully on the ground, her eyes filled with fury and resentment, I deliberately said, "Your Highness, Sister Zhang seems to have something to say." Xie Heng shot her a look of disgust, then wrapped his arm around my shoulder. "Let her live or die. Let's go." Prince Qi suffered a crushing defeat tonight, yet he denied Xie Heng the chance to humiliate him. When discovered, Prince Qi had already taken his own life at the tomb of his late consort. As the emperor lay dying, he passed the throne to Xie Heng. Xie Heng ascended the throne without incident, and I became his rightful empress. On the day of his coronation, he appointed Song Mingchen as Grand General of the state, placing him at the head of the military commanders. I knew this was his customary tactic of flattery leading to destruction. In a few years, once his throne was secure, the Song family would meet the same fate as mine in my previous life, betrayed after being used. Discarded like a hound once its purpose was served. In the second month after his ascension, I gave birth to a young prince. Xie Heng was overjoyed and immediately named him Crown Prince. After all, he was Xie Heng's only biological son. On the day of the Crown Prince's investiture, a general amnesty was declared. Zhang Yingxue, clinging to life by a thread, fled the cold palace. Her beauty was gone. Her back hunched from the unhealed sword wound across her chest. She rushed to the outer chambers of the imperial study, pointing at me and the infant prince in my arms, screaming fiercely. Only I could bear the crown prince and princess for his majesty. "This bastard child of yours is merely a substitute for my two children. It never should have been born. Song Jivan, you schemed against me from the start, against the emperor. You never had the fortune to be empress and bear an heir. You stole my destiny." Her raving, unhinged outburst was swiftly silenced as guards seized her limbs, forcing her to kneel upon the cold, hard floor. I handed the child to the wet nurse and stepped forward, gripping Zhang Yingxue's chin. "If not for your stupidity, I truly wouldn't have had the fortune to become the mother of a nation. Truthfully, Xie Heng genuinely loved you at first. He kept you secluded in the rear courtyard to protect you. His favor toward me was merely to make me your living target. But I saw right through the schemes you two were plotting. Zhang Yingxue, you were the fool. That night he was poisoned. I deliberately humiliated you to make you seethe with jealousy. The invitation from the princess's mansion was also intentionally left for you to intercept, because I knew full well that on the way back from the banquet, the carriage would be sabotaged by the Qi prince's men. On the night Prince Qi rebelled, the rebel forces you brought in, I deliberately let you succeed. Zhang Yingxue's eyes widened. You. What are you saying? Otherwise, how do you think those men bypassed the Song family's army and the armor guard to attack the Shui pavilion directly? I did it on purpose. I wanted you to taste everything I endured in my past life. Past life? So those memories in my mind are real? Do people truly have past lives? Zhang Yingxue suddenly burst into laughter. Song Jivan, I once thought you were so clever. You defeated me so easily. But it turns out you merely lived one more lifetime than I did. So what if I lost this time? In my past life, I ascended to the imperial consort's position and had both sons and daughters. I am the true victor. You wretched woman. You only learned wisdom after dying once. Even if you defeated me, I refused to concede. I remained unperturbed, countering with a single question. Then tell me, why do you possess memories of a past life? I died, only to be reborn here. Zhang Yingxue, if you were so triumphant in your past life, why were you reborn too? Could it be your empress consort also died shortly after ascending? As if struck by my words, Zhang Yingxue suddenly grimaced in agony, her head splitting with pain. Memories of her past life surfaced, complete and vivid. After Song Jivan's death, Xie Heng still tried to conceal the news, using an imperial edict to strip the Song family of their military power. Unexpectedly, Song Mingchen, stationed far at the border, had already received word. The very day he received the edict, he executed the messenger, burned the imperial decree, raised his troops in rebellion, and marched straight toward the imperial capital. Xie Heng had barely secured the throne when his power crumbled. The Song family's army pushed him back relentlessly. Finally, the Song forces stormed the entire imperial palace. Xie Heng and Zhang Yingxue were dragged before my tomb by Song Mingchen, forced to kneel and beg for forgiveness. Ah! Aya! Zhang Yingxue suddenly wrenched free from the guard's grasp. Clutching her throat in terror, she screamed, "Your brother rebelled. Your brother beheaded me and Xie Heng at your grave. Ah! Help! Help!" My pupils dilated, so this was the Song family's fate in my past life. After my death, the Song family, who had always upheld the way of loyal subjects, did not sit idly by. My brother, a man of such unyielding integrity, rebelled for me. He slew the dog emperor and the demon empress, avenging my death. Kill this madwoman. Xie Heng emerged from the imperial study at some point and ordered Zhang Yingxue's execution immediately. Zhang Yingxue lunged forward, clutching Xie Heng's robe and wailed, "Your Majesty, we've both been set up. Song Jivan knew all your schemes. She foresaw everything. She's taking revenge on me, and on you. Xie Heng, trust me just this once." Xie Heng regarded her with a cold stare, as if watching a farce. Zhang Yingxue's heart shattered under his indifference. Every illusion she'd harbored about this man crumbled. "You love me yet neglect me. You love me yet use my name to hurt another woman. You love me yet drive me to madness. All of this, everything stems from you." She pointed at Xie Heng like a madwoman, screaming, "Xie Heng! Xie Heng! I'll curse you!" Suddenly, Xie Heng drew the sword from the imperial guard's belt. A flash of cold steel. Zhang Yingxue's body stiffened. Blood gushed from her neck. The emperor had personally killed someone. The imperial guards and palace maids were startled. They immediately knelt, shouting in unison, "Your Majesty, please calm your anger." Xie Heng kicked Zhang Yingxue's corpse aside, stepped forward, and took the infant crown prince from the wet nurse's arms. Cooing softly to soothe him, he suddenly lifted his gaze to me, "Empress, come here." My hand beneath my sleeve clenched into a tight fist. In my past life, both Xie Heng and Zhang Yingxue died by my elder brother's hand. Zhang Yingxue suddenly regained memories of her previous existence. Could this Xie Heng before me have reincarnated too? After Zhang Yingxue's death, Xie Heng treated me even better. He genuinely cherished the young prince, seemingly disregarding every word Zhang Yingxue had uttered before her death. After ascending the throne, he selected no concubines, favoring only me night after night. For only I knew he had castrated himself. Only I knew he could never father children again. Sistanch could restore his virility, maintaining a superficial facade. But no new imperial prince would ever be born. If he selected other women for the harem, more people would learn the emperor was incapable, though it was clearly his pride at fault. Xie Heng boasted to others that he was the most devoted emperor. He treated my Song family with courtesy, even addressing my elder brother as a fellow brother. In the year Xie Heng ascended the throne, the northern D tribes invaded the border. The Song family's army defended the frontier and repelled the enemy. A year later, Song Mingchen returned triumphant. Xie Heng personally greeted him and hosted a celebratory banquet. At the palace feast, Xie Heng bestowed upon Zhang Yingxue the title of first-rank duke and instructed him to rest and recuperate in the capital, free from military concerns for the time being. All the ministers present understood this was a promotion in name only. Though granted the title of first-rank duke, the emperor had stripped him of his military authority as general of the nation. Zhang Yingxue merely sipped his wine, seemingly oblivious to this reward. Xie Heng asked in a deep voice, "My loyal minister, do you not wish to express your gratitude?" The emperor's anger was palpable. The banquet's music and dancing ceased, the atmosphere turning heavy. Zhang Yingxue didn't even lift his eyes. His voice languid, "Your Majesty intends to discard the donkey after it has finished grinding the mill." Insolence! Xie Heng, his true intentions exposed, flew into a rage. His original plan had been to gradually strip the Song family of their power, like boiling a frog in slowly heated water. But now, barely having boiled the first pot of water, the Song family dared to openly defy him. "Zhang Yingxue, are you plotting rebellion?" Zhang Yingxue sneered coldly, "This isn't my first rebellion against you." Xie Heng. He hurled the cup in his hand to the ground. In an instant, the Song family's troops surrounded the entire imperial palace. Xie Heng's imperial guards offered no resistance whatsoever as they were encircled. The assembled ministers panicked. Xie Heng leapt to his feet. "Don't forget, your sister remains in my harem." "Your Majesty." Addressing this humble servant, I entered the palace with composed poise, Yue cradling the young crown prince at my side. "Song Jivan, you dare betray me? After all I've done for you, must I spell out the sordid motives behind your Majesty's kindness?" Back in the prince's mansion, your affection was merely a shield for your beloved concubine. You never regarded me as human, just a pawn in your power grab. A living target. How dare you accuse me of betrayal? Xie Heng was speechless. He had believed his plan was flawless. I adjusted the phoenix hairpin atop my head, knowing your Majesty enjoys burning bridges after crossing them. The Song family had no choice but to strike first. The Song family army is the backbone of the entire Qi kingdom. When such a force rebels, no monarch can resist. Especially not an emperor like Xie Heng, barely seated on the throne. When the imperial guards seized him, he still raged with righteous indignation at Zhang Yingxue. "I regarded you as my pillar minister. I trusted you, promoted you, granted your Song family the highest noble status. Your sister is even empress. And this is how you repay me? Ingrate! Traitor!" His Majesty's kindness toward my brother was never genuine intent to elevate him. I stepped closer to Xie Heng, smiling as I exposed him. "Your Majesty fears he'll meet the same fate as in my past life, having his head chopped off by my brother's rebellion." Xie Heng stared at me wide-eyed. I chuckled. "You wanted to slowly strip my Song family of power. But this concubine isn't a fool." I traced my fingers along his neck. "When you killed me in our past life, did you ever consider my brother would exact vengeance?" Xie Heng's gaze darkened. "Don't you want to know when I regained my memories of that life? I suspect you and Zhang Yingxue recovered your memories simultaneously. By my calculations, that means your reign in our past life lasted less than a year. Knowing that you two adulterers didn't have it easy in our past lives either. Well, that really eased the bitterness in my heart." Zhang Yingxue handed me a dagger. "Sister, avenge yourself." I took the dagger, its blade tracing down Xie Heng's neck. He trembled in terror. But I didn't kill him. In my past life, thanks to him, I suffered 3 years of relentless illness, sleepless nights, and a life more agonizing than death. Xie Heng deserves to taste every ounce of my torment. Your Majesty has been taking Sistanch every night for over a year now. Hasn't he? Xie Heng's expression abruptly changed. "What do you mean? That medicine is poisonous. It won't actually poison you to death, Your Majesty. But it is addictive. You've taken it night after night, you've grown accustomed to it. Haven't you? Starting today, This medicine, it's being cut off. I gripped Xie Heng's chin. I'll make you understand. Your Majesty. What it truly means to be barren and childless. Xie Heng was banished to the cold palace, making him the first emperor in history to be confined there by his own empress. That very night, the sistanch was withheld. At first, Xie Heng felt nothing unusual, only a strange weakness in his lower body. Thinking I was exaggerating, he cursed under his breath and drifted off. But in the dead of night, excruciating pain jolted him awake. His lower body felt as if someone had brutally castrated him with an ice blade, a dull blade. No less, sawing back and forth on his most sensitive parts, denying him any swift relief. And this excruciating agony of being rendered childless could only be cured by that specially prepared sistanch. I would not give him the medicine. Rumor had it that every night from the cold palace came Xie Heng's agonized wails, slowly morphing into pleas for mercy and sobs. A month later, when I visited the cold palace again, Xie Heng had been tortured beyond recognition. He knelt before me, begging for a single sistanch. He kowtowed, begging, I was wrong. I shouldn't have used you. Jivan. Have mercy on me. Give me the medicine. My life is worse than death now. Only a month. And His Majesty can't endure it? In my past life, I endured such days for 3 whole years. Who ever pitied me? Song Jivan. You venomous woman. Xie Heng lunged at me in a frenzy, but guards immediately restrained him. His eyes bulged as he screamed. That poisoned wine was fed to me by you. This sistanch was your trap from the very start. I scoffed. Not only that, even the invitation to the princess's mansion that day? I deliberately had Zhang Yingxue steal it. I knew full well the carriage would meet its end on the return journey. She craved the spotlight so badly. Let her bask in it to her heart's content. And while I was at it, I sent her twin sons to the underworld too. In my past life, they were unbearably noisy in the cold palace, constantly clamoring before me. Death was the only peace they deserved. Killing them was also a way to bury my child from my past life. Xie Heng stared at me as if I were a demon. Songjivan. You're so vicious, you wouldn't even spare a child. I scoffed. My viciousness now is all learned from you. Your fate in this life is merely karma coming back to bite you. Truth be told, I haven't even dirtied my own hands. After all this was done through the blade of the Qi King. My hands? They're perfectly clean. Xie Heng was so devastated he went mad. He wanted to kill me, but the agony in his lower body left him writhing like a shrimp with its tendons severed, unable to even straighten his back. The guards didn't need to lift a finger, he couldn't even stand up on his own. I savored his misery, my crimson lips parting. You betrayed my sincerity, this is your just punishment. Even through countless reincarnations, you cannot escape it. Everything about his past life, Song Mingchen learned from me. When he heard that in his previous existence, he had killed his own ruler and plotted rebellion to avenge me, he showed no surprise. He only said earnestly, even if given another chance, I would do the same. Since Xie Heng was destined to betray you in the future, as your elder brother, could I really stand by and wait until he harmed you before resisting? Better to strike first and seize the initiative. Thus, the palace coup unfolded. After the coup concluded, I, as empress, announced to the realm that the emperor had suddenly succumbed to madness and would henceforth transfer the throne to the young crown prince. The young crown prince would rule under my regency, with Song Mingchen serving as regent prince. The Song family was the backbone of Qigua. Though subjects found the emperor's sudden madness peculiar, the young crown prince was of legitimate royal blood, his succession was rightful. Thus, the turmoil from this palace coup subsided within a month, and Qigua swiftly returned to stability and peace. I repeatedly confirmed that my brother held no memories of his past life. He asked why I clung so anxiously to things. Because only those who died in that past life's timeline could be reborn into this one. Brother, I wish you 100 years of life in that past existence. He smiled gently. If that's truly the case, then if I died in that past life, wouldn't I still be able to continue being your brother in this one? That wouldn't be so bad. Sister, no matter how many times we are reborn, I will protect the stability of Chigua's realm, safeguard the Song family, and guard you. My brother never reincarnated again. I knew he must have been a wise ruler in his previous life, long-lived, prosperous, and beloved by his people. Xie Heng endured 3 years of torment in the cold palace. Once I had tormented him enough, I deliberately ordered the guards to throw open the palace gates. Xie Heng thought he could escape. Only when he ran out of the palace did he discover a row of archers outside, their bows trained on him, a living target. I sat leisurely upon the imperial throne, my phoenix-like eyes slightly raised. Those who betray others' sincerity and treat them as living targets will ultimately die pierced by 1,000 arrows. My hand lifted lightly, released the arrows. Hundreds of arrows swarmed toward Xie Heng's vital points. Before he could even scream, one pierced his throat. That mouth, skilled in deceiving me with sweet words. That heart, full of treacherous schemes against his own wife, both were torn to shreds by the arrows. Under my guidance, the young prince grew sensible and bright, lively and intelligent. He bore no resemblance to Xie Heng. My brother said he carries every trace of my youthful liveliness. Indeed, this child must be my baby from a past life, come to find me. He knows he died in his previous life at the hands of Xie Heng, his own father's schemes. So in this life, he refuses to resemble Xie Heng in the slightest. When the young prince grew up, he asked me one day, "Mother, what matters most in life?" "Sincerity," I replied softly. "The sincerity of any person is precious." I replied softly, "As an emperor, when the people sincerely adore you, you must repay them with sincerity, ensuring they live in abundance and comfort. As a ruler, when generals on the front lines genuinely fight to protect your realm, you must repay them with sincerity, caring for their families and rewarding their valor. And as a person, my son, you must never emulate your father. Those who betray sincerity will surely meet a bitter end." The young prince declared loudly, "He is not my father. I will become a man of honor and integrity." Like the regent, true to his word, he grew into a wise and enlightened ruler. In this lifetime, rivers ran clear and seas were calm. Time flowed gently, and I found the happiness I deserved. The end.